Joining me here today, it's the one, the only Sodiq Yusuff. We just saw him this weekend, UFC Vegas 50, big win over Alex Caceres. What's going on, sir? How are you?
Man, I can't complain at all, man. A little bit bruised up, but life is good.
I'm sure people want to know how you feel, how the legs feel after that big performance, man. How's everything doing physically?
Everything's all right. My ankle and my foot are a little sore, but that comes with every fight. I always leave with my right ankle and my right foot being super sore. But my he got me really good in the eye. I don't know if you guys can see it, but
Oh, yeah.
he caught me really bad. So that's the only thing I got to get checked out medically. I should be getting it. I should be finding out what's going on tomorrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything's all good and it's just really ugly right now.
Are you one of those guys that gets frustrated when guys are able to land a clean one on you? Because I know some fighters, they go home and they don't care about the fight. They're just thinking about their eye.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely get frustrated. Trust me, if I tell you, if I could leave the fight by punching him once and that's the end of the fight, I will happily take that. I'm not one of these guys that takes pride in being in any type of war.
Yeah, you're not quite just engaged yet. I mean, you're not one of
No,
those psychos
not
that's
at all.
acting
But
about.
I give Justin all the respect because it takes a certain kind of person to be able to put on those kind of performances. It's just not me.
So how did it feel, man, physically getting back in the cage? I know you battled a lot to get back. I mean, you had that nasty bout with COVID and everything. How'd you feel physically out there?
Yeah, man, physically, I think I felt really good, man. There was a certain point in the first round where I think like I got in my own head a little bit. Like when I was holding him against the fence, I was like, man, am I getting tired? But I think it was just in my head, you know. Like once we got separated and got back into the action, I felt perfectly fine again. It was just a matter of reminding myself that like, hey, this is what we do. Is one of those things. Funny enough, that was one of my fear going into the fight. Is like I was just gonna forget how to fight. Like the bell was just gonna ring and somehow I just forgot. But
That sounds like all of those dreams where, you're like punching underwater and you're getting your ass whooped and you can't do
exactly,
anything.
exactly. It's like, man, did I just like forget how to fight? Did I forget how to do this thing? But like you said, like around like the second round, towards the end of the first round, I started feeling comfortable again, man. I was able to really think of it and there and be in the moment. That's one of the things I also worked on, like after the Arnold Allen fight, is like getting back in the moment in the fight. A lot of times in my fight, I kind of go on autopilot mode, and there's nothing wrong with that because the way I train, I do a lot of drills, you know. So when I fight, most of my fighting is going off of instincts and drills that I've worked on, and things that I see like my opponent is bad at countering, or things that I see that they're really good at in my defense. I drill it, drill it, drill it, drill it. But when I got in that Arnold fight, when I went back home to go rewatch it, and I saw myself in that third round, like in my mind, I was still trying to just win the round, you know. And like it's one of those things that like it didn't really click until like I'm watching commentary. Of course, my coaches and my corners told me I was down, but it's one thing when you hear it, and it's another thing to like internalize it, you know. Like I was still fighting to just win the round, you know. So it's one of those things I worked on, is trying to be like more in the moment, be there, but think while you're in the octagon. I think that's what separates like the champions from the rest of the other guys. I think they're making decisions where sometimes some of us are still going on autopilot.
Well, I mean, you showed that with the leg kicks, right? Because you said your plan was to kick his arms. You started
Yes,
kicking so that to you kind of proved to yourself, like you were able to
exactly.
make that. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's why I give the people that help me out. I give them a lot of credit, you know, because I definitely that was like an audible, and I made that audible like really really early on in the fight. You know, it's not it was one of those things that like, oh, okay, I see he's not gonna be in range for me to kick, because I know he runs around a lot. You know, but I didn't expect him to run. I was expecting more like side to side type movements. You know, that's why I was planning on kicking at his arms and just trying to get him to stand still. Because no matter what, I know if my punches can't reach him, kicking at his arms would kind of keep him like in a triangle in front of me. But his movements was like more backwards than I expected, you know. So the only thing that was in front of me was really the leg kicks. And when I watched the film before the fight, the inside leg kick wasn't there because he stood more like sideways, like Taekwondo style, like his knees was pointing like inside. But for some reason, I don't know why his knees wasn't pointing in the fight. I think maybe he was standing more straightforward, maybe because of the takedowns or something like that. But it was there, you know. I take what you give me. I tell everybody at the gym all the time, I'm an avid move spammer. If you can let me get a move off, I'm gonna spam the mess out of that move until you make me stop. And that's one of the things that I try to teach to like the younger guys. You know, it's like, hey, if it worked once, it'll work again. Just be ready for whatever the main counter is to that move and keep that in mind and work everything else around it. So, and you guys, I feel like people forget that I have a pretty good kicking game. You know, like the Contender is the only time like you really give me credit for my kicking game. But I had a pretty good kicking game against Shaman. Shaman just had a he checked one of my kicks and like hurt my leg really bad. That's the only reason why I kind of got away from it. But my kicking game has always been good.
With you, you're planning to kick the arms. Were you kind of worried about hitting the elbow or anything like that? Obviously, it didn't happen since you didn't
So
need it,
so
but
so the only reason why I wasn't worried about hitting the elbow is that I have a teammate, one of my OGs. His name is Mike Easton,
of
and he had
course.
a fight. He had a fight once where somebody kicked his elbow, and it like if you ever see Mike's elbow is like really like bulky, like pointed out. When you go watch his pictures now, you'll see it. But the dude literally like just broke his elbow, and like his arm just fell dead. You know, so it's one of those things where I'm pretty sure foot against elbow, my foot will lose, but shin on elbow, my shin will win for sure. So it's one of those things. What I'm really aiming for is the forearms, you know, because I'm expecting him to brace and try to block it. And if I aim for just kicking the arms and kicking the forearms, there's a lot of times at practice where I've made people's arms go numb from just kicking their forearms. And if you get lucky enough, sometimes they move that arm out of the way and you hit them in the head.
That sounds so vicious. You mentioned after the fight, you're very happy to go 15 minutes. What was kind of the reason for the 15 minutes? Because you did also say at the beginning of this interview, if you could just win in one punch, you would have done that too.
Yeah, because the mat time matters, man. Like no matter what, I tell people you're never gonna feel comfortable fighting in your underwear in front of like 10,000 people. But
That's fair.
the more time you spend out there, the more it starts to feel like practice. That's the biggest thing with me. I recently somebody on the interview was just asking me if I missed the crowds. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I missed the crowd for like the celebration, like after the wins and stuff. But actual fight wise, I love fighting at the Apex because it feels like practice. Like that's what you want the fight to feel like. The more familiar it feels to you, the better it is. Like we try to recreate everything that's gonna happen in the fight when we're at practice anyways, you know. So those 15 minutes, being able to do that 15 minutes and come out relatively safe, you know, my eyes jacked up, but relatively safe is like those times matter, you know. Like guys like I don't want to be the George St. Pierre that has like freaking 2 hours in there of going to war, you know.
Crazy.
But I do appreciate the time.
You put somewhere on social media. I don't remember where it was. It was like a picture of Alex Caceres, and it was like back when you were a fan, and you were like, "Oh, I'm excited to see this guy." What's the deal with that? Was that kind of weird for you fighting a guy you were a fan of?
Yeah, man, it's very surreal, man. I had a little bit of a taste for it. I had to lie a little bit on my interviews because they asked me about if I'll be like starstruck, and of course I'm not gonna be starstruck. But I was like, well, I was a bigger fan of Andre Philly, but it's one of those things. I had a little bit of a feeling of it when I fought Andre, but Alex is like an OG like anime head, you know. He's like one of those
Right.
anime guys. It's funny, like when we was cutting weight, he was in the sauna with us, and him and my teammates had fun. They're like cracking jokes back and forth. And I was like, damn, this guy's as cool as I thought he was. Like, you know? And so I just gotta be like quiet and just sit there and smile, you know. But like he's who he presents himself as, you know. So that was one of the reasons why I was a fan of him when I was younger. You know, I think his season was on the maybe the year I was graduating was when his season of the Ultimate Fighter was on, and like, I was like, man, look at this dude's doing ninja signs and stuff like that, doing Naruto seals. I was like, man, this dude's cool as hell. And I already knew. I've asked him for. I think that post that I put up. I think I was at that UFC event with somebody, and I asked him for a picture.
Oh, that's
But
crazy.
either I asked him for a picture or I was too scared and I didn't ask. You know, but I remember I did go online and I wrote about it. So that's why I had that post up. I have a couple of posts because I even have some from like 2015 when I'm like, man, I can't wait to watch Bruce Leroy fight, blah, blah, blah. But all that stuff, you got to save it for after the fight, you know, because you never know how sometimes when it's like don't meet like people that you like, you
Yeah.
never want them to like flip that on you.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
look at this loser, you know. So I try to be as genuine as possible too, but I do know there's a time and a place for certain things. Like after the fight, I told him I don't think he believed me when I told him after the fight, but then I had to go find the pictures and show the evidence, man. I was like, man, now for real, like I'm like legit a fan.
So one thing I want to talk to you about, we always talk about this when I interview you, but you became an American citizen, I believe, 2 years ago. You've been living the official American dream, red, white, and blue, all that good stuff. How is it being an American officially?
Hey man, I'm officially American. I still find myself being a Nigerian in soul, man.
Yeah.
I told you I bought a house and I moved my mom in with me. Is I got my mom in there, so she keeps the African that's like
Right.
strong
Yeah.
with us. Like she's now she's bugging me to freaking bring her a child with my girl, you know. But the Nigerian spirit has never really left me. It's one of those things where like before I used to go back home frequently. Hold on. Ori. Sorry, I'm on dog duty too. Look at this. Look at this craziness. Look, where's the dog? See where the dog is.
Yeah.
Look where my girlfriend, who's supposed to be watching the dog, is.
I can't even see her.
All the way back there. I was like, hey, I'm about to do this interview real quick. Can you make sure you watch the dog? The dog's about to go terrorize some random family down there. And she's over there walking around with a tennis ball.
Yeah, it's like you're not forgetting anything. You have the tennis ball, right?
Yeah. Don't forget the animal that's supposed to be with you. No, sorry. What was he talking about?
You're talking about your mom moved in. She wants babies, actually, which I guess would be with the person that's watching the dog, which I guess should be great at watching the kids too.
Exactly. So that the Nigerianness, like that's something that's gonna stay with me for a while. That's actually one of the things I worry about with when I have kids, man. I was like, man, I hope my kids is able to like speak my language and have the culture and stuff like that. But I know how difficult it is. Sooner or later, those things slowly dwindle away, and now we're all just full blown Americans.
I know exactly what you mean. 'Cause I'm in the same situation. I'm, immigrant myself. My parents are immigrant, and it's like if you don't have that at home, you're not going to have that anywhere. As soon as you leave the house, you have to be a full-blooded American.
Exactly.
Man, I know you're a big ice cream guy, man. Did you celebrate with any kind of ice cream after the fight? I mean,
Hey,
what
come
were the
on, man!
cookies?
Don't assault me like that, man. You know exactly what I did. I was like, man, hey, I don't drink and I don't smoke, but those are my vices. I had ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh man.
Before this interview, I had a caramel cone Haagen-Dazs, and earlier in the morning, I had Ben and Jerry's is the new thing they got. This it's called like top. So they put like a layer of like chocolate on top of it, and it's a tiramisu Ben and Jerry's. Man,
Oh my God.
I'm an ice cream connoisseur. So some of these stuff, especially during camp, I write them down like, hey, I gotta have this like after the fight. So on fight night, I try to go to the store to go get some food, but we ended up having like a team dinner instead. But trust me, that's my world right there, man. I don't know nothing about anything else like alcohol or drugs or nothing, but ice cream, I'll go in on some ice cream.
What's the best brand? 'Cause there's some good ones. I know my mom, we debate a lot. What's the best brand?
Yeah, so like now I'm starting to get a little bit torn. Before I used to say for sure it was Haagen-Dazs, like Swiss almond or caramel cone, but lately, man, Ben and Jerry's has been like really stepping it up. Like I've been finding a lot of Ben and Jerry flavors that I really like. It's just sometimes Ben and Jerry goes a little too crazy. There's not like they'll have like some things that's like it's too much going on. So I guess for now I'll still stick with Haagen-Dazs. The Swiss almond one is probably my favorite. It's simple. It's like chocolate covered almonds. Oh my god, yo, look at my dog. I hope you can see it. My dog is with some random Spanish lady and two kids.
No.
And
Hey,
my girlfriend is over there trying
hey, that's their dog now. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. Ari. This is hilarious.
Do you want to go run over there? I mean, what?
Nah. The dog, my dog's like super friendly. So like, all she does is she just wants to be petted. That's why my girl's so relaxed like that, man. This is crazy. It's funny. I hope she somehow stumbles upon this interview.
We're leaving this in there. We're leaving this in there.
How horrible of a job she's doing right now.
Oh man, yeah, she just completely gave up.
Yeah. All right, back to the regular schedule program.
Right. Back to the ice cream. Are you worried about diabetes? Because I'm not eating that ice cream, and I'm worried for you to get diabetes.
Shoot, hey man, I work hard, I play hard. You know, the thing is, as soon as I finish fighting, I go to the store and I get like antacid tablets, like Alka-Seltzer and stuff like that, because I already know how it's gonna be. It's just gonna be constant burping and heartburns. But I give myself like a solid. I found in my career, like when I early on, like back in the amateur days, I used to try to be one of those yeah, after the fight, I'm gonna try to resist. But I found like that trying to resist it is what makes people's weight go like insane. I just give myself a certain amount of time to go crazy. And then when that time is done, then I go back to being a regular guy. But I don't try to resist it at all. I go all in, and then once I'm done, I'm done.
Before we wrap up, man, we have to talk about you're fighting someone who might be a little bit more American than you. You're hoping to fight Bryce Mitchell. What's the story with you and Bryce Mitchell? Why that fight?
There's no story. There's no beef at all, man. You know, I really just want to test myself against Bryce. I remember he put up something on Twitter about who wants to fight. I think he was having a hard time getting a fight, but I think he already had a fight. He was just trying to like put it out there. Yeah. And then I said that I wanted to do it, and he liked it. So I was like, oh, nice, this is going to be a good one. And then the next day he announced that he was fighting Edson, you know, so it was like, oh, come on, Bryce. But I think it's a good name. You know, it's somebody that's ahead of me on the rankings. There's another opposite styles. I know he just fought a striker like Edson. And I really also want to prove to people that I'm not just a striker. You know, people don't give me any credit for my grappling because I mostly use it defensively, but I got some offensive grappling too. I think that would be a fun fight, man. I feel like me and Bryce we could push that. That could be a good co-main event. That could be even a main event for one of these little fight nights, man. That would be the real goal right there. We could get like a little small fight night and have me and Bryce headline it. That would be legit.
Well, you'd have to do your part to build up the fight, right? Because he's going to do the whole, I'm going to defend Arkansas. Are you going to defend the DMV in Nigeria?
I got to come with the African squad. It's got, I mean, the rednecks and the Africans got to go against each other. That's a hell of a show right there. Hey, I'll tell you this. I definitely do not look forward to those DMs. Like all I do is mention Bryce's names, and I got a couple of those of the usual suspects in my DMs as soon as I mentioned his name.
How bad is it? Like I would imagine you'd have
trust me. Imagine how bad it would be for a black guy. Now a guy that people think is black and African. So you could just use your imagination on what happens when you call out Arkansas's finest.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, Town. There you come after art. You come to our country. You're like, what are you talking about, man? I'm an American too.
Exactly. Hey, Ashley, can you keep Ori next to you? She's had like 5 different families since we've been over
here. Fair enough. We're finding a solution to the dog thing. At least the people won't be left in suspense.
Yeah. That's right. Go find the dog now.
Okay. You should have just asked. You should have tried to trap her like, oh, you have the dog with you right now? Yeah. Where is it?
That's my girl though. I love her, man. She's awesome.
All right, man. One last question. We'll let you go because there's a lot going on around you, man. Realistically, when do you think we're going to see you fight again?
Man, hopefully soon. If they tell me there's nothing wrong with this, I'll like to. What is this, March?
15th.
So yeah, if there's nothing wrong with this, man, probably like in July, you know. And to be honest, like one of the things I've been thinking about too is trying to take like these short notice cards, man. I really like what people are doing now, like jumping in like short notice, because I know a lot of them too. They're finding a way to get themselves a nice little contract by doing that. That'll be the goal right there. I could come in and save the day, get myself a nice little contract, man.
Hey, you win the fans over too. Like you become a hero. You take the right fight, everybody's holding you up. You know.
Yeah, that's a fact. Hey, man. The Terrence McKinney and Drew Dober, like, man, that dude, I think he somehow found a way to win in that loss, you know. Like I got way more respect from him losing to Drew Dober like that, because like when the fight started, I was like, oh shit. Him and my teammate Garrett, they wrestle together, and Garrett's been telling me about this dude for a while, and then like when I saw him doing that to Drew, I was like, oh man, your boy's legit. Your boy's legit, you know. Like I think he just got a little bit tired. And Drew Dober is a tough ass vet, you know. So like at the top of the top, those kind of things happen. But that was a very legit showing.
All right, man. Well, hopefully we see you defend against Arkansas's finest for the Nigerian name, for Baltimore, all that good stuff, man.
Yep,
Hopefully it happens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me back on, man. And I'm sorry man. I'm not gonna lie. The past like couple of years been like really rough. Like between like getting sick and stuff and being inactive. That's why I haven't been trying to be doing a lot of interviews because I know sooner or later the questions will go down the depressing path.
Yeah.
But it's all good now. I'm nice and healthy, so that's definitely number one. The COVID definitely sucks and. It definitely it doesn't matter what type of shape you're in. That junk can have you in a really, really bad situation. But everything's all good now. We're gonna try to stay busy. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We're gonna try to stay busy.